Hello everyone, in this video I am going to discuss about the Kubernetes Ingress, why we use Ingress and what are its applications. Previously we have discussed about the Kubernetes pods, deploy, replica set as well as the services. Here using the YAML manifest what we have given for the deploy, replica set will provide the replicas of the pod as accordance with that. If we want 3 pods to be running, replica set will read that YAML manifest and it will provide the necessary pods accordance with that. Here if it mentions a 4, it will provide 4. And let's consider your website has a 4 main application. It has a login, it has a register, it has a dashboard, it has a payment. Okay, now what happens is that there are 4 worker nodes that are actually working as of now. The thing is that what happens here, replica set is there. Here we have totally 1 2 3 4 5 6, totally 8 pods are there, and every 2 pods are meant for different work. The 2 pods are meant for the login, 2 pods are meant for the register, 2 pods are meant for the dashboard, 2 pods are meant for the payment. This is how it is working. Okay, fine. Here every pod has a unique IP address. Here it is 192.168.1.2. this is 1.1, and let's consider this has a 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9. Like that, every pod has a unique IP address. Let's consider there are some engineers who configured this thing in such a way that they associated this particular pod with some external IP address using the IP it has. For example, this red pod has 192.168.1.2 IP address. It is associated with some external application and you are accessing it. Just consider, as you know, containers are ephemeral in nature, means if you don't provide enough resources to them, they eventually die. Let's consider if the red pod dies. In such condition, you are accessing it with IP address, it is not accessible. It is giving you 404 error. In such condition, replica set will continuously monitoring these pods. If there are no pods, then it will create a new pod, but the new pod has a different IP address, but it is not accessible to outside world because there are no engineers who configure it with the external application. For that reason, we came up with the services has something some mechanism called labels and selectors. Every pod is labeled with some name, like for these pods are labeled with login name, these pods are referred with the register name, these pods are referred with dashboard, these pods are referred with payment, and according with their label reference, it will select those pods, and it will make a group of those pods. Here these pods are assigned with the login one, these are register one, these are dashboard, these are the payment. If some pod eventually dies, then it has some name associated with it that is present in the YAML manifest. When replica set will create it, it will create with that particular name, and services will find out that there are totally 8 pods, one pod dies and a new pod is created. That new pod has some name called login, and accordance with login it will create a new pod and assign it with that particular group. Therefore there is zero downtime and it is accessible, and the services will provide unique IP addresses. As I already discussed, the services have 3 types of things: cluster IP, node port, and the load balancer. In the enterprise application we use the load balancer, therefore we have some IP address associated with it, and these IP addresses are public in nature, these are static in nature. For static and public application, you need to provide huge bill to the cloud applications, like the cloud providers like the AWS one, or the Google Cloud, or Azure, or CO, DigitalOcean, or there might be a lot of cloud providers, but you have to pay a certain amount that is huge in nature. Just consider if this service is providing 1000 IP addresses, and for each IP address it is costing you around $100, then for all the IP addresses itself you will lose up to $10,000. This is a huge amount. For that purpose, we are introducing with a new the thing called as an Ingress controller. What exactly Ingress controller does? See, here we have all the IP addresses that are associated with it. There is something called as an Ingress controller. This Ingress controller, first of all, I will just explain you the drawbacks. There are additional drawbacks. The services what we have, it is providing everything in the round robin method. If you are someone who is well aware with the operating system concept, then round robin scheduling is a scheduling where all the requests or the requests that are coming to your application is divided into certain things. For example, here there are 10 pods, and consider there are 2 pods and 100 users are coming. You need to divide these requests equally, means 100 must be divided into 50 and 50, and must be given to the pods. And this is what a service is doing. It is providing round robin scheduling and it is dividing the services. But in real scenarios, when you are dealing with the virtual machines, you have one virtual machine that is providing a lot of services. When you are dealing with the load balancing and API services, what all things it is providing? It is providing, the first and foremost thing what it is providing, it is providing path based routing. Like what example I can able to take, okay, it is providing path based, means for example, if I consider it as my domain name abc.com, if I say /home, it has to take me into the home, and this is something called as a path based routing. Here if I say home / dashboard, it has to route me towards that particular page, and this is termed as a path based routing. This is path based one. And there is domain based. For example, this is path based. In the domain based, what we can do is that this is abc.com, and you have subdomain like home.abc.com. This is called as a domain based routing, and your application has to route according with that only, like chat.openai.com, or you can say Google. If we consider Google, if we have the Gmail, we have the gmail.com, like additional subdomain is associated with it, and these are called as a domain based. And there is something called as a whitelisting. See, we have a lot of nations, and there is a lot of restriction across nation when you are dealing with across the nation. For example, if you are someone who is from Russia, and you are accessing some application of the US, you are not able to access those application. Why? Because as of now, because of the war, many of the applications of the USA are banned in Russia, and you cannot able to use that. This is termed as a blacklisting. The applications are blacklisted in Russia also, and those are blacklisted. The Russian applications are blacklisted in US also. This is we can able to do this using the concept of load balancing using the virtual machines or API server. There is something called as a sticky session, where you are dealing with only one pod, and there is a dividing of the request equally using the load balancing, and you have firewall and hosting based thing. There are a lot of a thing which you can able to perform using the virtual machines that is not possible using something what we call as services don't provide these all things. It has something called as only round robin scheduling. That's only it has there are thousands of applications which we can able to do using virtual machines that we cannot able to do using the services. The first one is there are some of the load balancing, like dividing the request, and path based routing, and domain based routing, whitelisting, blacklisting, firewalls and host bases. There are a lot of things which it cannot able to do using services. This is the first problem. Second problem is that it is providing unique IP addresses to everything. In such case, it is static and it is public one. You have to pay huge bill for these things, and this is not a viable. For this purpose, we are introduced with the Ingress controller. What Ingress controller does is that it will just take this all the request. This is the first request. It goes into the Ingress controller, and this is the second one. It also goes to the Ingress controller. There are a lot of Ingress controller like the NGINX F5 and a lot. You can just go into the GitHub and explore those things. They have provided with a lot of Ingress controller. What exactly this Ingress controller does is that these will take all the services into the YAML manifest. This is the Ingress controller. This will take all the services that are provided into a single path, and it will divide those paths as a subdomains. Here I'll just mention this thing over here, and it will take this one, and I will assign this particular thing over here and assign this thing to this one, and assign this thing with this thing, and assign this thing to this one. Okay, now I will just copy this particular thing and I will paste it over here. Okay, this is just consider this as some service out of it. This is my domain name. Just consider it as some abc.com. If I say /login, because of this Ingress controller, now my application is routed to this particular service that we have without intervening this IP address. You no need to expose your IP address publicly, and you don't need a static one. You just need to connect with this one, and it is not a public. Here your Ingress controller is watching it. It is not accessible outside the world. Therefore, when we say abc.com/login, it will route into this particular service. If I say /register, it will go into, wait a second, here I can paste, this is the login one, and over here I can just say this one, and this is the register, and dashboard, this is the payment one. Okay, it will route accordance with this one. There are a lot of Ingress controller. Previously I have discussed about the path based routing, domain based routing, whitelisting, blacklisting, dividing your request into sub requests, so that there must be proper load balancing. After that you have the firewall and the host based. You can able to perform these all the things with the Ingress controller. There are a lot of companies like NGINX F5. They are providing their services NGINX in their GitHub. We can use that to attach with this particular service and provide the type of services what you require, rather than only depending on the services with only round robin scheduling. And this is the use of this particular thing. Thank you.